Today, we are getting candid with Aidan Bissett, who you may recognize his music from TikTok with songs like More Than Friends and Tripping Over Air. He's toured with the likes of Claire Rosencrantz, Love, Valley, Role Model, and The Greeting Committee, and he broke into the music world with a series of self-produced singles in 2020 and signed to Capitol Records before he'd even finished high school.
And we're getting candid with Aidan about being among the first people to start promoting music on TikTok, as well as the importance of distinguishing yourself as an artist in songwriting, a performance persona, as well as growing up in an environment that supported good mental health. So we have a lot to cover today, and it's a very interesting conversation.
Hi, Aidan. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. It's nice to be here.
So you're about to start your first ever headlining tour. How are you preparing yourself for this career milestone?
Great question. Lots of practice. I really wanted to make a point on this tour to be playing a lot more guitar on stage instead of just being like on vocals. I think it's really cool if you can be like a front man who can do both at the same time. So I've been practicing a lot of guitar.
Well, I mean, I feel like in your TikToks, you're usually playing music. So is that not something you're comfortable with yet? Or just live, you're kind of multitasking is a lot.
Yeah, I think it's the live thing. Like I've played guitar for years and it's different when you're just sitting down and playing it. It's as soon as you start opening your mouth and singing.
Yeah.
It's like your brain is like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing those two things at the same time ever. So I'm gonna prevent
And then
you
you're
from doing that.
Yeah, you're also on stage. There's a lot of showmanship that has to go into that. The fans are all screaming. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, it's because you have to you're playing a character as well, on stage, a very amplified version of yourself who has to command while singing and being emotive and playing. And yeah, I think we did 4 opening slots over the past year and a half, and I've got to learn a lot through those slots and seeing the headliners perform and what I really liked what they did or what I didn't like. And we just did Lala, and that was the same thing. I got to see the 1975 perform for the first time, and
Amazing.
they're unreal when it comes to performances. They're kind of the epitome of a truly great performative band.
Yeah.
So being able to watch that and watch Matty Healy, how the way he kind of interacts on stage, and it was really helpful to envision what I think I should do on this tour.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds like you're really learning a lot, and this tour is going to be a really fun way for you to bring all that to life. So I'm really curious, you mentioned Matt Healy 1975. I feel like a lot of us who are in the music industry or play music, we have these very formative experiences of music in our lives that really kind of form our journey and who we are as people. So I'm curious if there's anything that stands out to you of you were music is what I want to be doing, music is what I have to be doing.
The moment that I kind of realized that?
Yeah.
Well, the first concert I went to when I was in high school was kind of the formative moment. It was in Portland in the basement of a hotel, and it was for a band called Wallows, who are now very big.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're killing it. But at the time they had 2 songs out, and me and my friend had heard one of their songs. I think it was Pleaser. Yeah, Pleaser. And on Spotify when it had came out, we're oh, this is really sick. And then we saw they're doing a little Pacific Northwest tour show or whatever. And we're well, it's $5 to go. So it's down the street. So why not go? And it was 50 people in the basement of a hotel. And I remember just watching them on stage and just seeing how much fun they had and how they could kind of again, play a character and amplify themselves on the stage. I thought that was really, really cool. And it was also kind of they did a great job of making it an experience, even though it was only 50 people. It was intimate, and you could see that people really lost themselves and just kind of forgot about what was going on in normal life and could just detach and be a part of something for an hour and a half. And I thought that was really special. I wanted to be able to do that same thing for people, is give somebody an experience that they can kind of put their life aside for a second and experience something with a group of people.
Yeah. Were you already playing music at that time, or did that inspire you to then start playing music?
I was playing guitar as a hobby. I played guitar since 2nd grade, on and off throughout lessons and stuff. But at that point in my life, I was very focused on athletics and sports. That's what I thought I was going to do in college, and it was just a really, really prominent part of my life. And it wasn't until I moved to Florida halfway through high school that I kind of made the switch. I had started a high school band, and we needed a singer, and none of us knew how to sing. I was a horrible singer. Like it was
Really?
bad. I was so bad. Like my uncle has these like voice memo recordings of me doing vocal warm-ups in my grandparents' house because we were living out of there for a while, and he would like go up into the room that I would be doing the vocal warm-ups in. He'd like stick his phone up against the wall, and you can hear me. There's one that's really, really, really funny. Um, I'm like doing like a scale, and my voice cracks, and I'm like la 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 la, la. And you can hear me go. As soon as my voice cracked, I was like, "Oh, dang it!" Just the sound of defeat. So yeah, I was not a good singer. It was like it took a long time for me to be like comfortable with my voice.
Yeah. Growth. We love to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you kind of started releasing music around 2020 at a time where it very much felt like live music might not ever recover. So getting to perform live now and like seeing fans in real life, like what does this mean to you?
It's kind of like the best part of the whole thing. Again, like it goes back to experience, like being able to connect with people like real time on something that you spent so much time creating, seeing that impact it has on anyone is so powerful because you sit with music for so long. And I mean I'm in the room that I make a lot of it right now, and I sit here for 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day sometimes, beating my head against the wall, like trying to unlock and trying to like puzzle an idea together. So it's like an incredible like payoff and response to see that it works, and that people really do connect to it.
We've talked to other artists before about like that feeling of getting out there on stage and it's like the audience, like their emotions bouncing off of you and your emotions bouncing off on them. For your first experience of that happening, like what was that like and are you used to it now?
I remember that experience so vividly the first time. It was I was on tour with Claire Rosencrantz. I was opening for her, and the first show was in Washington D.C. I think I had 3 rehearsal days prior to this tour,
Oh, wow.
which for me was not a lot. Like I was like, I've never performed
Yeah.
before. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Like 3
Yeah.
days, and I have to go and perform a 40-minute set. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way, dude. And we also were like balling on a major budget when it came to like any kind of sound design, front of house, all
Yeah.
of that. Like we didn't have budget for that, and so like I didn't have any kind of tuning or touch up on my voice. No, none of that. It was just like dry in, and we're just gonna rock with it.
The real rock experience.
Yeah, and exactly. I remember like walking on stage, and I definitely froze for a second because I was like, oh, like I now have to like figure out how to basically like like entertain people for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
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 And I have like a nervous. I've definitely got better at it now, but when I get nervous, I just talk a lot. And I
Yeah.
just remember I would like perform a song, and then I just start going on like tangents. I just be like, okay, guys. It was like became like a stand-up show mixed with like,
You're like, I forgot I'm here to play music.
yeah. I'd be like talking for like 2 minutes in between songs, and I can just see my tour manager in the back, like, come on, bruh, like start singing. Uh, and but it was, it had its own like perk to it because I remember like coming off stage and like going to merch, and they're like, "Oh, we loved how personal you were. We loved how like you could like talk to the audience." And I was like, "Okay, maybe I'll make that my thing for this tour. I'll just be like personal."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had like no song transitions or whatever. It was just playing the songs. And
Yeah.
I think there's like a bunch of pictures from that first show, and you can see like the surprise like on my face as I'm like, why am I here right now? I have no idea, but I'm doing it, I guess. And
Yeah.
the smile on my face is so big, and I'm running around and jumping around. I had no idea how to control my body on a stage. I was just like, I'm just gonna be really energetic and hope that that's what you're supposed to do on a stage. Um, so it was a fun learning experience, but I'll never forget it. I remember walking off stage, and Claire's manager came up to me, and the response was way bigger than we had expected. Like the response to songs, kids were like singing the songs, and again we had no baseline, we had no idea what to expect. And when the song started playing, like people were actually singing them, and all of us were like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
We don't really have a following. We came off stage, and Claire's manager came up to me, and he goes, did you know they were going to do that? And I was like, how would I know? I was like, I didn't know.
You're like, I just
didn't
got
know
here.
that. Yeah, I'm new to this, dude. And it was like a big, like, oh, that was a really, everyone was like, that was sick, dude. And I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool. And the rest of the tour was awesome. So that was a long-winded answer.
No, I love it. It's really cool as a fan getting to watch an artist like first tour, especially like discovering music online and stuff. So it's cool hearing it from like the artist perspective of being like, yeah, I was there with you too. We all knew it was the first tour. We all were like going through that and having those emotions. So it's cool just like hearing your perspective on it. And I mean, like with you kind of starting your career on TikTok and connecting with people over the internet in that way, like going from being on your phone to being in real life in front of these people, like was that a weird thing to get used to?
Yeah, I am, there's no, your phone is so weird. It's like you can put something out there and then people will see it but you never get to see how they're seeing it. They're just seeing
Yeah.
it, and next thing you know, like a day later, you're like, oh, this has like 100,000 views. Like, what the heck? Being able to see like the translation between that and like it like you never really understand what an impact has on somebody on you'll never be able to tell on the phone, and seeing that transition, especially on that first tour, was really impactful for me, and it kind of like solidified the drive and motivation that I had for music, because I didn't feel like I could get that sort of response and connection anywhere else. But yeah, no, the apps like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, it's so weird, because I feel like everyone is just like putting out their random ideas and be like, oh, I hope people like it. You know what I mean? It's kind of just a bit of
Yeah.
throwing darts in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, well, also like doing like all of this and doing this in 2020, like TikTok was like the new frontier. No one knew what they were doing. Like it was very early stages of figuring out like how to utilize TikTok as like a platform to like grow yourself. And so I'm curious like what your experience was with that, like when you were first like using the app, and like what was that like for you, just throwing darts in the dark?
Yeah, recently like looked back on some of my videos and I was like, how did I not get bullied in high school? Which, to be fair, I definitely did. They just didn't bully me like to my face. Which is
Yeah.
like whatever. Um, but I was like looking back at some of them and I'm just like, oh my
You're like, I
gosh,
can't believe I posted
dude.
this.
What? I was literally like, I was like straight up committing social suicide. Like I was gonna like, but like because we were in lockdown, I was like, you know what? I can't see the kids in school,
It's
so
fake. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
it
It's
doesn't
not real
matter.
life.
No. So yeah, it was like it was weird trying to figure it out because again, like at the time, nobody knew that what they were doing. Like now,
Right.
nobody
Yeah.
knows what we're doing, but like we kind of understand like how it works. And TikTok is,
Yeah.
is and Instagram whatever is weird because the market for artists on the app is so much larger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost a bit more formulaic when it comes to it. But back then, it was like there was not many artists that were doing it. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
big ones were like Ty Burns, Claire Rosencrantz, like, and every once in a while there's that song that was like I saw my neck. Like I was like, what are we like? The music that was like popping off was so random. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was just copying this stuff that was working from
Yeah.
other artists. I would like look at like studying other artists' socials and stuff and being like, oh, that kind of works. Let me do that. And every once in a while, it would kind of work. But it was definitely way, way, way different of a landscape then than it was now.
Yeah.
Like there was just less music being put on it. So it was being able
Yeah.
to make noise, being able to break through the noise and be like, this is what I'm doing this, I'm so and so, was a lot easier. Every artist now I feel like goes through the struggle of trying to break through anything on that app, because there
Yeah.
Yeah.
is so much
Yeah.
all the time. There's a new song, a new whatever every other week, or there's a bunch of these smaller songs kind of doing their own thing, and it's hard to have a big one pop off.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really interesting. It's cool to watch. I'm really fascinated by like the whole market and business around that stuff.
So I'm really curious because so we're talking about like TikTok 3 years ago was so different, but then if we think about like musicians and social platforms like 5 years ago, even like 10 years ago, with artists like Wallows coming up in like the 1975, like there was no TikTok for Wallows in 1975, you know? And so the artist to social media landscape has changed a lot. And so I'm curious for you, like, do you feel, because I feel like with TikTok, it's changed to this format where it feels like you need to be constantly accessible online. So do you feel like that plays a role in all of this?
Yeah, I think I think it's something that every artist is struggling with right now. Trying to find the balance between using an app like TikTok to grow your platform and grow your music, but also not giving too much. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the biggest superstars in the world, you know, Matty Healy, Harry Styles, Olivia Rodrigo. In my opinion, one of the reasons they're superstars is because there's a level of mystery around them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You don't know everything about them, but you want to know everything about them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that like part of your artistry is so important because it keeps people searching your name and
Yeah.
guessing and wanting to know what's going on in their life. Who is that person dating? Where are they eating? Whatever, you know what I mean? Like being able to find the balance because like an artist like me who's developing, I can't just leave TikTok. I can't just be like, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm nowhere near the level of success to be like, you know, screw that app. I don't need it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just not true. I have to be able to utilize, you know, the things that are at my, you know, like extent. Like it's just not,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be realistic. And now finding that balance because there is so much on TikTok now is what everybody's trying to figure out. It's like how can we put content on TikTok that's like stylized and cool, that fits with the artistry, that isn't always like too much, giving like too much personality, showing too much of your life
Yeah.
because that definitely does in some ways it can subtract from the artistry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. I'm trying to figure it out. I work a lot
Yeah.
with my roommate and videographer who like shoots all my videos. We've been going out and like shooting more like abstract like visualizer type short form content to like be able to post
Yeah.
on socials that like gives you the music but also shows the artist, but is not sitting in your car being like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Here's another car video.
I just made, I just made the biggest heartbreak song of the year, and then, and then it's like, and it's definitely not the biggest heartbreak song of the year. This is such a crazy. I love when like, and this is like I've fallen fault to this. I've said I've made the song of the summer multiple times when I was in high school when I was making music on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I was doing it, so I can make fun of it. But,
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's so funny when artists make like absolutes around their music. Where, like, I've made the song. This is the song of the summer, or like, or
Yeah.
if an artist at a show is like, "This is the best night of your life," and then everyone's like, it's actually not the best night of my life, but you know,
Don't tell me how to feel. You think you
know
know
what I
me?
mean?
Yeah,
You don't know what's going on in my life. Like I
Yeah.
could have like, I don't know, I could have like won a championship last week or something. I think it's so funny. I don't know why that's so random, but I think it's so funny when because I think specifically those car videos that it's dealing in absolutes where it's like
Yeah.
I just made this and this is I'm telling you how to feel basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is such a weird concept, but you know like the attention spans on TikTok and social media now is so small.
Yeah.
You know, people want to be super served a
Yeah.
specific content. They want to like not think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of smart for an artist to be like, this is this. And then the
Yeah.
person on the phone is like, oh, yes, it is this.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So sometimes and I really think that that's why it was working for a period of time
Yeah.
is because like during the peak of COVID when everyone was locked in their house
Yeah.
and it was so mindless, that was the thing that was working. You know what I mean? People were just sitting on their phone like, yes, song of summer, so good, you know? And it's just different now. I don't see, you don't see as many of those as often. You see them a couple every once in a while, but I think everyone's trying to switch it up and figure out
Yeah.
what's next.
Yeah.
To just like move it over to your most recent single Ultraviolet that came out, I feel like you have a very captivating way about singing about like love and relationships that feels different from like what has been coming out recently. And I feel like especially this song, like the lyrics are capturing a very specific moment in time. So I'm just curious if you could tell us a little bit about like your inspiration for writing, whether it be like specifically Ultraviolet or just in general, like where you pull inspiration from.
I like to keep it very personal. So things that obviously are truly happening in my life is definitely the stuff that I put into music. And I've been working really hard on being a little less one-dimensional when it comes to writing. Not just writing about a heartbreak or not just writing about like falling in love, but like the different aspects of anything, relationship or a friendship or, something like a loss, I've been trying to find ways to write about those things that feel like I'm not just hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And it's been challenging because, it's always easier to say I'm in love, rather than explain why and how you're in love
Yeah.
through, little things. And learning how to do that, I think is really important. It's been tough. And, and like, I've sat here, like I said, like I've been sitting here, like trying to piece together more, lyrical stuff and, be able to like have things that fans and listeners can look at and be like, wow, like that really does explain how I feel in a way that I didn't know how to explain, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Because that's something I always struggle with. Is like I always like know how I'm feeling, but I don't always know how to explain it.
Yeah, and
I
that's
feel like
kind
a
of
lot
like a musician's job, right? Is like doing like writing things in a way that makes people think.
exactly. I mean, I think a lot of people go through that where it's like I know why this hurts. I know I'm feeling something. I just don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
And being able to like sit down and like just actually like piece that together and think about it, I think has been really important and therapeutic in a way. But it's been fun. It's been a fun challenge, especially with like there's another song that'll come out later that I really worked super hard on that and like trying to explain an emotion in a way that like is telling a real story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been fun.
Yeah, I really love hearing all this from you because it sounds like you're really trying to challenge yourself as an artist. And I love, just bringing it back for a second, what you said about this idea of celebrity, of how like there's a certain unattainableness of celebrities and a certain mystery, and that's why we like them. And I think so many musicians on TikTok are struggling to figure out those dynamics. So I think it's really interesting that you're like very aware of these different like kind of categories that what makes a good musician, the showmanship, like this air of mystery, the songwriting itself. And so I think it's really cool that you're kind of like focusing on all these aspects. And at the same time of getting into, what you just said about the songwriting and being emotional and tapping into emotions, you've not been shy about sharing those, like the ups and downs in your songs. And historically throughout society, we see that a lot of men aren't really encouraged to share their emotions. There's been a lot of kind of stigma around like men and mental health or sharing their emotions, being open. But I think like people your age and like the younger generation even are changing this a lot. So I'm just curious, like your experience, like do you feel like you've had any stigma around like being vulnerable or being emotional, or do you feel like you're part of this generation where it's shifting more?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were and are very supportive when it comes to being emotional. My mom is a psychiatric nurse practitioner, mouthful, and she deals with kids and teens with like anxiety and depression and OCD and like all of those crazy things that kind of go in with teens. So she was, and my dad as well, we're always very big on talking through things because obviously with her profession, it's way better to talk about stuff than to let it sit and then fester because that's when some horrible things can happen.
Yeah.
And I think, at least from my experience growing up that way and being around the kids that I was around, we were all pretty, at least raised like that with an open mind and being told that it's okay to feel certain things, even if you're a guy, we like when I played football for 7 years, and that's a
Manly
sport.
sport.
Right
It's a sport.
yeah, that's a sport right there. And there's a lot of stereotype and weird stigma around that sport. But growing up, I grew up in Oregon. I was on a team that was very supportive of that stuff. We were supposed to talk about it.
Yeah.
When we were going through things or it was tough, like the whole point of being on a team was like getting through things together. And we were told if somebody has their head held down, if their chin was down, you as their teammate were supposed to pick them up. And I kind of carried that through, as weird and maybe cliche that is. I kind of like have carried that through my childhood and life and now adulthood. I think it's different everywhere. I think some areas and some places are a little farther along in that stance than others. I lived in Florida for 2 years, and there's pockets that are like that, and there's pockets that aren't like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for the most part, I really do feel like my generation or the generation coming, it is changing. I think people are understanding that it's really important to talk, and feeling feelings it's so normal, and there's no reason.
Yeah.
Normalize feelings.
Yeah, like there's no reason for anybody to feel like they can't share those feelings. And if somebody is telling you otherwise, then they're so wrong, and they need to look internally and ask themselves why they're saying that.
It's incredible, I think, being part of music for like most of my life, and watching just like the shift from kind of like growing up listening to emo music and that music being made fun of and like those kind of vibes, and now like the younger generation still singing about their feelings and everybody being so much more comfortable with it, I think is just so incredible. So it's really awesome to hear you talk about that. But just for a fun wrap-up question, the ethos of Name 3 Songs is to empower fangirls. And we think it's very important to celebrate the things that we love just completely unapologetically. So Aidan, what are you a fangirl of?
Ooh, what am I a fangirl of? Wait, that's crazy. That's a great question. Wait, what am I a fangirl of? Dang, I'm a fangirl. Wait, this is so hard. I'm a.
It could be like the smallest thing. It would be like you said, oh, like seeing the 1975 was so amazing. Or like Sarah's like is super into like the Spider-Man video game right now, so she's like obsessing over Spider-Man. So it's just like, what are you like obsessed with right now?
I know what I'm a fangirl of.
Yes.
Harry Potter. Bro,
absolutely.
I would do anything to be a wizard. Do you know how bad I wanted to go to Hogwarts? So bad. Dude, it's so messed up. The fact that I wasn't chosen is it's not okay.
Do you do like deeply. A binge watch? Do you like binge watch like once a year, like all the movies?
Multiple times a year, 100%. Yeah.
I love
He's like,
that.
just once? Excuse me.
Just one time? I'm playing the new like Harry Potter Hogwarts game on
the
my PS5
PS5
right
one?
now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, dude, my wizard is nuts, dude. He's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
No, I feel that.
Love that. That's a great one. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Aidan.
Thank you guys. This was so fun.
I think my favorite thing in talking to Aidan is just how thoughtful he is on all aspects of being a musician, of his songwriting, his performance, having a persona both on stage and on social media. And I think that's something that so many artists like aren't very aware of, and it's so nice. It's kind of like refreshing to see someone his age and like where he's at in his career already thinking about these things.
Yeah, I feel like once we finished the conversation with him, I just had more
questions
because like I don't know. I feel like there's a preconceived idea that I think I have a lot of times, even though I'm a big fan of his music, but there's like a preconceived idea of somebody whose career starts on TikTok and
definitely.
How their feelings are going to be and like how they're going to be comfortable talking about it. And like you said, I was just like so blown away by like how clearly he's thought about every aspect of his career, not only just like from, getting his start on social media, but also the fact that he is so young. And I just left it kind of being like, wow, he cares so much about his career and like what he's putting out. And I think it's so obvious in his music as well that he cares that much. And it was just so cool, like getting to chat with him about it and learn about like, not only like his music life, but also like in his personal life and how supportive the people around him have been about his journey into music, as well as like putting his emotions out there for the world to listen to.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. I'm like, interview part 2 when? Like,
literally.
Maybe, guys, we'll have more for you maybe in the future. Thank you guys for getting candid with us and Aidan. This has been Sarah and Jenna from Name 3 Songs.